back to A Well-Designed Business. My name is Luann Nigara, and I'm so glad you found this podcast. Together with my husband Vince and our partner Bill, we have grown our company WindowWorks from the ground up. So I know and I understand the challenges you face in running your interior design business. I also know that your talent alone isn't enough to ensure your success. So on this podcast, we talk about strategies and practical steps to help you grow your business. But make no mistake about it, we have our share of fun here too, mixed in with those aha moments that I love so much. This isn't fluff. Nobody has time for that. Whether you are a new interior designer or a seasoned designer, I am here to help you create and to manage the kind of interior design firm that you dream of. It's straight talk and it's action. Are you ready? Let's get started. Hi, welcome to A Well-Designed Business. It's Power Talk Friday, and today's Power Talk Friday is sponsored by the Interior Design Business Academy. And the founder of the Interior Design Business Academy, Terri Taylor, is with me. Terri is absolutely no stranger to you because she is returning to the show for the 6th time. It really is unbelievable that each time we get together, there is no shortage of valuable information that Terri brings to all of us. Now, for those of you that may not have heard one of Terri's episodes before, let me tell you a little bit about this #smart lady. Terri has over 32 years in the interior design and construction business. She is a speaker, a guest lecturer at design conferences and showrooms throughout the country, where she speaks a lot on the topics that we cover here on the show every week, like business practices, sales, marketing, motivation, leadership, success, and growth. Terri is nationally known as an interior design business expert and coach who teaches and mentors other interior designers to help them create successful interior design businesses. She has inspired thousands of interior design entrepreneurs through her speaking engagements, seminars, and online education and coaching, and through this podcast. So I'm delighted to share this next conversation with Terri. Hi, Terri. Thanks so much for coming back on A Well-Designed Business today.
Hey, thanks. I'm happy to be back.
Well, you know, Terri, it's funny because you and I talked about it. You've been on the show. Oh, my goodness. I'm going to tell you, let's see. It's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times now. And every time you give tremendous value. I love that about your sponsored shows, that we pick a business topic that you teach within your Interior Design Business Academy, and you teach it and give it away to all of the listeners. And then, of course, we always tell them about whatever summit you're having or opportunity you're having. But we were talking and we realized that we never did the whole "how did the Interior Design Business Academy get started" conversation. So why don't you tell us a little, get us started in that right there, Terri.
Yeah, I'd love to. You know, it started back in the Great Recession, back in that one, where I had been really busy in my studio. You know, I had a vibrant design studio. I did a lot of stuff here in Southern Arizona, a lot of high-end residential, a lot of commercial. We were running at about 60% commercial just from our residential jobs. People referring us into stuff, which is kind of interesting to have a studio doing both. But then we tripped over model homes for national home builders and ended up doing most of the builders in Southern Arizona. So I had 14 people on staff and we're cranking. We have our own building. I mean, we're moving, we're doing great stuff. But you know, when the housing market tanked in that time, I mean, it literally just stopped. And I had no more contracts to chase, no more. There was nothing out there. I had nothing on the books, nothing there. I had all these people, had to cut my staff down and going, all right, what am I going to do here? So it was really a pivot. I had to figure out, you know, what to do with the studio. We went into remodeling. I already had the contractor's license, so that was an easy thing to do. So we started remodeling, thinking that, well, if people can't sell their houses, they're going to remodel them. And of course they did.
Right.
and that's how I was able to keep the big contracts going, because we were running on $200,000 or $300,000 contracts regularly, and I didn't want to give that up. So we got that piece going. But I got to thinking about, well, you know, maybe I ought to do something that's not so totally tied to the housing industry that we have to flip upside down every 15, 20 years. You know, this craziness, right? So yeah, it was just kind of a whim. I went to I was recommended a woman who was a coach who was actually teaching coaching and internet business and that sort of thing. And so I went to her event just to see what it was, sort of thing. And they kept telling me, well, you got all this knowledge. Why don't you share it? I went, well, I guess I could. I was the person in my ASID community that everybody came to and say, how do I write this contract? How do I gather this up and turn it into a job? And you go, well, do this, do that, So it was really kind of a natural thing to do. The next thing that happened is my daughter was in design school in Denver and had graduated and went to La Jolla and got a job as a backup person in a high-end studio in La Jolla down in the village in the really high-end part of La Jolla. Oh, a great spot, great place to be. So within a year or so, she had done her first kitchen through them, and I convinced her to put it on the home tour, on the kitchen tour, which is a crazy thing for a first-time person to do, but
Wow.
pushed her a bit. It was in the right location. It did a beautiful job. But the thing about that was that it gets you published. Right?
Right.
It raises you from being an unknown to somebody, oh, you've got celebrity. You must be the best because you've been published. So it got her published in the newspaper. It got her published in the local home and garden magazine that was doing the program for this. And she got to meet a gazillion people walking through who were interested in kitchens. She walked out with 2 or 3 big jobs and celebrity. Everybody knew who she was. I mean, it literally launched her career, and I watched that and went, well, that's really cool. I mean, that's what you want to happen for your daughter, right?
Right.
Right. And I thought, it took me 20 years to figure that out. We did that in 2 years. 2 years, 22 years, 22 years. Maybe I ought to do this. So that's where it started. That's what happened.
Wow. So basically what it is in giving your daughter the advice that at that point 20 years you earned, and it was sort of like it was obvious to you that this would be the next thing to do, or this is a good idea for marketing or a good idea for that, and it working so quickly in your mind, it was like, oh, this will work for other designers, and I should not hold this information back. I'm onto something here. I can share it with other people.
Well, absolutely true. I mean, it is my belief that we as designers have a God-given gift to create beauty and function and comfort for people, and we're not supposed to hide it. We're supposed to share it. We're supposed to share it as many people as possible. And obviously, the more people you share it with, the more profitable you become. It's infinity loop there that just kind of loops back to you. So yeah, it was like that. So really started looking at like, well, perhaps I got a lot that I should share, and that everybody doesn't have to struggle as hard as I did to get this started, because it was a long road. I mean, it was a tough one of trying stuff and failing and going, all right, I'll do it different this time. And, try over and over again by the time you finally got to the point where, I mean, I had a good studio and a good business running and a lot of help, and, and we were well known in the community. Took a long time.
Yeah.
Long time. And it
it's
shouldn't,
funny, because I was just saying to one of the young women that I coached today, I said, there's something about the startup, and there's something about the startup years when you don't have that mentor necessarily or that paid coaching, which we didn't, right? And I was just like, Vin and I were working 70-hour weeks with kids, and Sunday, if somebody wanted to see us Sunday, we went Sunday. Somebody wanted to see us at night, we went at night. And the thing about that is that was our journey. That was what we needed to do, and that was the way it was. But with business coaching now and places like the Interior Design Business Academy, you don't have to do a 70-hour week in order to make it work, even as a startup, because, we were, just as you said, we were making all the mistakes ourselves and figuring it out, as opposed to, hey, make a right turn here. Oh, okay.
It's true.
Right?
It's absolutely true. Absolutely true. I remember when I decided to stop working on Saturdays. It was a big deal. I had gone to a CEU, and this guy was saying, no, I don't do it. Actually, I don't work Fridays either. I leave. That's it. I'm not doing it. And I thought, well, what will happen if I try that? And you know what? Nothing happened. I had Saturdays off. Wow.
I had the same exact thing, except mine happened with an impetus because of my daughter, Christy. She was the youngest. And there got to be a point where I would go to work on Saturdays and I would ask Vin if he would babysit our child while I went to work.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Or my mother-in-law, I would, bring her to my mother-in-law's house
Sure.
or maybe arrange a play date while I work. Mostly that was what would happen, either my mother-in-law or a play date. And one Saturday, there was this moment when she was probably about 9 years old. And she said, "Do I have to go to grandma's? Can I just stay home?" And the thing was, your kid. I know I could have left this kid for 3 hours on a Saturday, and she never would have moved from her art table. She would have done with her things, and I would have came back and found her in the same spot. But I remember thinking to myself, 3 hours turns into 5, turns into a day, turns into a latchkey kid. And I was like,
Yep.
nope. And so that's when I said to Vinny that weekend, I said, "I'm not working Saturdays anymore." He's like, "What?" And I said, "Because here's the thing. She thinks she's too old to be babysat, but I know she's too young not to be." And I said, "So I'll go to the showroom on Saturdays. I'll bring her with me, but I'm not working Saturdays anymore." He about lost his brains. He was like, "You're out of your mind."
You can't do that.
Right. But
Yeah.
there were a few things, the Vin man and I, he always says I run the show. I'm like, anybody that knows us knows he darn well runs the show. But there are certain things, and I think that's why he thinks I run the show, because there might be 10 things in 40 years where I just put my foot down and said, "No, this is how it's going to be." And that was one of those, where I was like, "No, not doing it." And you know what? We all survived.
Well, yeah, and it ended up not making any difference in the business whatsoever.
Right. Right.
Zero.
Because you get more efficient during the week. You tie things out. You just pay attention more. You have 3 less conversations about nonsense. And it was funny because we're direct shop at home, right? And so different than interior design, like you're going to have your initial consultation, of course, but we could do 4 consultations in a day and come out with 4 checks, right? It's a one-stop shop a lot of times.
Sure.
And I remember in the beginning people saying to me, "Oh, well, Saturday." And I'm like, "No, I don't do Saturday appointments." "Oh, well, the Saturday's the day I get all the things done." And I'm like, "I know. It's the same day I get all my things done." Like, stop.
Well, the other thing, just a tip for whoever's listening, is that when you say that you can't come on Saturday, but I could come on Monday afternoon, like
Yep.
at 4:30, or I could get there on Wednesday morning at 8 or 7:30.
Yep.
You give them a couple choices, and they go, "Oh, okay, I'll take 7:30 on Wednesday."
That's
That's
right.
it. That's all there is.
That's so right. And that's the other thing. So, to your point, I did do 2 nights a week for many, many years because of those people who worked and all the things. But I love that actual tip in there because that is the magic part of it. It's like, I'm Saturday, and I didn't say, "Oh, I don't work Saturday, I can't." I just say, "Oh, Saturday's not available, but Tuesday at 6:00 is." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, we don't have to go through all the details. For all you know, I work Saturdays, but not this one. You know what I mean? It's just like, stop.
Yeah. Exactly. But how long did it take to figure that one out?
Yes.
Quite
Yes.
a while.
Right.
Quite a while.
Right.
Quite a while.
And
Yeah.
so now you go into interior design business coaching. And, at this point, I don't think you're still running the design firm, right? But did you do it as a side hustle, like the 2 of them together for a while?
Absolutely. I did it for 7, 8 years, both of them. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. About 5 years ago, I decided to give up the studio. I sent a note to all of my clients and said, if you need help, call me. I'll find the right people for you. I'll connect you. I'll connect you in. But, I'm not going to do this anymore. I just got so involved in this and so happy with what happens and the progress of these women and a few good men with kind hearts,
Yeah.
that it was just astounding. It was just so much fun. So off I went.
Rewarding. It's rewarding when you see the lights go on with a business owner's mind, right? And they get it and they make
Absolutely.
that good change, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. And it just started with my coach told me to write a signature speech, and so I did it. And I contacted a friend in a showroom in Scottsdale that I'd used a lot, and said, "Hey, why don't you invite your list for a little wine and cheese, and I'll talk." And she
Nice.
went, "Well, okay." So I did, and 60 designers showed up, and I did my little dog and pony show, and they went, "Wow, that's really cool. What else are you doing?" I went, "Nothing. That's all I got."
That's a little
Sorry,
more
but
show
that's
here.
it.
Gotta
Yeah.
get some more things. I'll be back in a week.
Yeah, give me a little while here. Yeah. Yeah. And then the next thing is that I was telling my cravat rep about what I was doing, and she went, "Oh, wow, Sid wants to know about that." Well, cravat ended up putting me through every one of their showrooms on the West Coast,
Ah,
from San Diego to Seattle, the
isn't that
whole the
something?
whole thing. And that's where I started connecting to people and finding out what I really needed to be doing and what was really right and wrong, and it was marvelous, marvelous. And then after that, um, I got picked up nationally by another showroom, and went all over the country. And that's how we built the list and really became so internet based, and figured out what it is designers really need to get going, to get,
Mm,
and the first piece being the money piece. Let's get the money going so you're
mhm,
getting paid for what you're doing, right? And get the client that you want,
right.
right? So that once you get the cash flow wheel turning, so that you're not worried about where the next dollar's coming from, then it's pretty easy to build out the business. Then you start building out behind you, and getting some structure going. But
Mm.
it was really, really fun to do. I traveled all over the country, and met just a ton of people.
That's awesome. And it's those conversations one on one throughout the different venues that you do really, you start to hear the same similar problems in a different story, right? But
Hmm.
the core problem that business owners, interior design, entrepreneurs are facing very much center around some basic problems, right?
Yes, absolutely,
And the
absolutely.
money is you're right, 100% right. The money is the first and foremost. It's,
Hmm.
I mean, I say it all the time. We have in all businesses, not just interior design businesses, are littered with money launderers, I call them. And it's like you take the
That's a
money
good way to
in,
put it.
you pay all the bills, and there's nothing, left. So it
There's
comes
nothing.
in and it goes out, but nothing stays behind. And,
Yeah,
that's the goal of a money launderer. Like, just wash it all and put it all out on the street again. That's not the goal
yeah.
of a business owner, right?
You're right. That's a great way to phrase that. Absolutely right. Yeah, and unless and nobody teaches that,
Right,
right? How would you know that?
right.
That you everyone I've ever worked with has been a fabulous designer. I mean,
Yes.
creatively, they're amazing, absolutely amazing. But from the business side, it's like they get turned out of school like lemmings to go off the cliff.
Right.
It's
Right.
just crash and burn. And yeah, and it's sad because up until very, very recently, you couldn't ask a question and get an answer.
I know, right? The industry
Mhm.
was so closed and so like,
Yeah.
oh, I don't want to help you because then you might take my customer. It's like, okay.
Oh, please. Yeah. There's customers for everyone. You got to know
Exactly.
that. There's a customer that fits with everyone. And the luxury marketing people say that we're only hitting like 20% of the market anyway. There
Right.
are so many people out there for us. But it's a matter of learning how you connect with them, and learning that that your money story is not the same as theirs,
Right.
right?
Huge, huge messaging that our
Mhm.
money story is not the same as our money story isn't the same as our spouse and our kids, let alone some stranger, right?
Yes, yes, who's a gazillion times more wealthy than we are,
Right.
and until you get that piece down, you're going to have a hard time serving those high-end clients that you really want, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
We do an exercise about that, just about stretching and that sort of thing. About everybody's thrilled to you know say take the largest amount they ever sold in furniture, like the biggest furniture sale. Say
Mm.
double it. How does that feel? You're like, "Ooh, that's really good." Say, "Okay, now 10 times it. How does that
Whoa.
feel?" Whoa. And everybody's happy. I mean, you see the smiles everywhere, right?
Yeah.
I have a Zoom screen full of smiling faces. Okay. Now, take the most you ever charged for yourself for a job and double it. And I get sad faces.
Oh,
And then I go, "Okay, 10 times that number." And it's like, "Oh no."
yeah.
I mean,
You're out
just
of your
total,
mind,
you're
Terry.
out of your mind. Yeah, exactly. And I said, but you know what? The truth is, you don't get that big furniture budget till you can do this part about asking for what's for you.
So clutch. I
Yeah,
love that.
yeah,
No, that's
yeah.
so clutch. You have to repeat that. Go ahead, say it again.
Okay. You don't get that great big furniture budget, that $300,000, $400,000 furniture budget to do that fabulous project, until you're good at asking for yourself what
Hmm.
you're worth.
Hmm.
That fee of 60, 70, $80,000 to
That's
do
right.
that,
That's
right?
right. Because that's how the luxury consumer knows to take you seriously.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
I just
Yeah.
had that conversation as well this Saturday night at an event that I was at, and I met a young designer, and the conversation went through to, yes, I'm, trying to get to that next level client. And, I had come across this designer while I was in High Point. So I had already looked at the website and I saw that the quality of work was elevated, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like we know the
Yeah.
difference, right?
Oh
Somebody
yeah.
who's starting out and somebody who there's some chops design
Mm-hmm.
wise. And
Yeah.
you do have to have your chops design wise. I expect every designer to do a good job, but there are different levels of talent, and that's just a fact of life, right? And so I fully thought that this designer was in the luxury space,
Mm-hmm.
and during the conversation revealed that is having trouble getting to that space and is doing work in the New York area, which we're not in Iowa here, okay?
Right. Mm-hmm.
And I just said, I started asking what were the fees that they were charging and what if they were doing hourly. And I was like, you got to raise your prices. Your
Yeah.
website, your work earns it, and your luxury consumer here is not taking you seriously with fees like that. They're just thinking, what's wrong with that? I said, when you get you get a quote for a roof, and one person is 35,000, and one person is 28,000, and one person is 10,000. You're not like, oh great, I'm going to save money. You're like, no way, I don't even think about that person. And that person could be the best one for the job, that will do the best job, but has a crappy money story.
Yeah.
But you don't know that, and you just discount them. You just say nope, off the list. And I
That's
said,
right.
and I think there's a part of that happening with you right now. I said, try raising your rates, see what happens, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, you have to step into it confidently right from the get-go.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And
Yes.
if you're not talking the language of quote those people, then you're not in the door.
Right.
It's not
Right.
going to happen.
Right.
You
Right.
know,
Yeah.
the
I mean,
the
it's just like shoes. Like if you walk into Saks and there's 20 pairs of, I don't know the names, Stuart Weitzman and Louboutin. I don't know the things about
all
a shoe
those
shopper,
all the
but like $1,000, $2,000, and then there's a shoe there for $45. You're just like, what? Like, what is this doing here?
yeah. And which one
But
do
if
you
I
want?
Right, but if I walk into Nordstrom's and there are $100 everywhere and one's 45, I might be like, huh? Like, you know what I mean? It's packaging. It's where are you and what are you doing and do you feel and look the part? But that, to your point, Terry, it starts in your own mind, right?
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Absolutely it does. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's the one thing that I discovered about coaching right from the get-go, that if I didn't create a shift in what's possible in one's mind, that
Mm,
no amount of checklists and scripts and do it like this and here this is the sequence is going to help at all,
right.
unless the mindset shifts,
Right. I
you know?
love it.
Yeah.
So in the Interior Design Business Academy, how does coaching look? Like how does it work and what do you guys do that's different than some of the other outstanding programs that are out
Mhm.
there? Tell us a little bit about that. I don't think we've ever explored that.
Yeah, I know. That's why we decided we would do this. Yeah.
Not good on us, Tara. Not good on us.
Yeah, totally mine. Totally mine. Don't be a secret, Terry. So one of the biggest things that we do that is really special, we fly the plane while you build it. Now that's kind of a strange looking phrase, but what that means is we're going to use our 4 years of educational curriculum and all our coaches and all the stuff we do on you and your business where it's at right now, and take the clients that you have right now and start upgrading them, start showing you how to actually step into those client jobs that are showing up now, right? And how to do it in a way that you'd actually be profitable and your client would be really happy. They would say yes really easily.
Mm,
And once you do that, we do a piece with budget on the fly. I've talked about that before, where you really get into what the client's budget is, not the budget you think in your head.
mm,
What's really interesting about that is that budget is always way higher than what you would have had it.
mm,
Okay. And once you do that, you actually get the job into the place where it belongs. And then you can call out a fee that makes sense with that job and it works. Or you can say, you know what? There's not enough room for me. It's not there.
right.
All right. So flying the plane while you build it essentially means that as you get these opportunities and we start working on the marketing that opens you up into these bigger clients, that as you get an opportunity that's bigger than you had before, we're going to help you set that job up so that you experience what it's like to do it in a way that's profitable and organized and has a system to it, and that your client likes it. And and once and for designers are smart. You don't get here by not being able to figure stuff out. I mean, there's just a
Right.
ton of stuff that you just have to figure out, and everyone's different, and you've got to be able to think about it and do it. What I know is once we've run through this with you once and showed you how to write that letter of agreement, how to present it, how to present that big fee, and you got my hand on your back when you're presenting it, so you're
Mm.
confident. It's like once that confidence goes up, it's like they're unstoppable. They go, "Oh, I got it. I got it.
Wow.
I can do this. I can do this." So, then it's just a matter of, raising the layers. So, flying the plane while you build it is a huge deal as opposed to just learning, just like going online and listening to stuff and like you're supposed to absorb it and then someday use it. It's like that
Mm.
doesn't work very well because by then six things have happened. I don't remember it. I don't know what it
Mm.
is. What we want you to do is use this material that we have on your job right now, and we'll tell
Wow.
you, okay, we have a big library of a lot of stuff and a lot of systems, a lot of letters of agreement on all different kinds of things, like paragraphs, how you say things, how you structure things, how you structure jobs to be profitable, and how you actually present it, the wording you use. All of that stuff goes into how the, fly the plane while you build it, because if you actually do it, you actually learn it forever. I mean, you got it,
I
right?
love that. You know what? I love that, Tara, because you're 100% right. We learn something, we're learning it in the abstract, is what you're saying. We're like, oh,
Hmm.
eventually when I have my next client, I'll do this part that I just learned today on Tuesday, January 3rd, but, I don't have that opportunity to whatever. So what you're saying is when designers come into your coaching program, wherever they're at, whatever project they are working on or about to work on, you guys get involved with them and show them how to up level that project in real time, how to do
Ex-
wherever their gaps are, how to address them and deliver them better.
Exactly.
Whoa.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's pretty
You
good.
got it. Yeah, it is good. Yeah, because these people are smart. They, it's just like, oh, I got it, I got it, and then it's just like boom, 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 and
Yeah.
and all the materials there, and they may not need me for support again until they hit, the next one where they're going to have to present a $50,000
Right.
fee up front. They're going, oh my gosh, I think this could be 50, or we get from our master's program, we go, oh my gosh, I think this could be over 100,000 on my fee. I was like, oh, whoa. you know,
Wow.
that takes a little thought and energy and planning, and you want to make sure it's right, and it's a big opportunity, and they just open up, they just unfold like flowers. It's really
So, what's the
remarkable.
mechanism for doing that, Tara? Because that's literally what you're describing is if I'm a member of your coaching program, then this is not that top level. Like when you have an opportunity that looks like this and you're teaching 8 or 10 or 20 people at the same time, if you're teaching people individually how to handle their projects, is it that the rest of the designers are learning from each other's projects, or is it one on one? Like, how does it actually work?
How do we deliver this?
Yes.
A whole combination of things, a whole combinations. We start out on a one-on-one with me always, because I want to know where you're at and where you want to be. Right? We get
Right.
those established, and a plan with some bench posts in it, going, all right, this is what we're going to do first to get this piece, and then this, and then this, so we know where we're going. After that, we meet every Tuesday. We do Q&A, which each group, we have growth, structure, and masters. But each group, I do a live Q&A, so everybody just brings their questions. What are you working on? What do you need help with? That sort of thing. If somebody's got a situation like that where they're looking at, this big opportunity, they want to get it right, what I will do is ask them to get that into a letter of agreement format, write what they can, get the scope laid out, and then send it to me on an email so I can look at it. Then I'll just meet with them, and the end of the day usually takes 10-15 minutes. We can
Mm.
just talk about it and how to structure it, how to write it, rewrite the letter of agreement here, figure out the fee, that sort of thing. Usually that's all that's needed, to get it right, and then it just blooms. Now, obviously, if you're in masters and you're doing one for 148,000, that might take 2 or 3 meetings to get there.
Right.
But it's a combination then of all the information in the library, all the support from the mindset coaches who can direct our students to look at this, look at that, read this. If you have a question, bring it to the Q&A. So we have this connectivity points and support points, and then a lot of information too, and and the desire to make everybody successful.
Wow.
And then the sharing within the community is remarkable too. That's really a lovely, lovely thing. We have a private Facebook group that has everybody that's ever coached with us in it.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's a resource for past people, and it's a resource for current ones. And so there's an enormous amount of sharing going on in there of just what's current. Vendors, for instance. I mean, looking for a vendor for a specific thing, you can go there and throw that out there and get 12 answers.
Wow.
It's pretty cool. It's pretty different than when I was coming up, where you couldn't ask anybody anything, or they, you stupid girl, how dare you,
Right.
kind of thing.
Right.
It's
right.
like, oh, sorry, didn't mean to do that to you. Yeah. So it's a really, really supportive community. The way we do our monthly coaching is we do it in pods. So we have, our mindset coaches work with a pod of 3 designers. So they're like each other's board members too. So they can run stuff by each other as well as by us. So we create these little groups so that there's good bonds and friendships and accountability and all of those pieces behind it.
Wow.
So like that.
So that's awesome. Now, how do you handle whether, one designer is, working on their first 100K in gross revenue, and another designer, I'm assuming you have designers that are seasoned and might be running $3 or $5 million and plus firms. Is that the case?
Exactly.
Or is it all up to a certain revenue?
No. We have a growth program is for designers who are beginning their practice. They have clients. Starting from zero is not really our place, but who have clients and are looking to get the money wheel going and learn how to. The key problem there is learning how to listen to what a client says and actually turn that into an offer with a price on it. That's kind of a key turning point there is learning how to do that piece. So we get that piece. That's really good for people starting out. It's also really good for people who've been in practice for a long time and have realized that it doesn't work like it used to. It just doesn't work like the way it did 20 years ago when we did this. And so we've got a lot of people coming back to kind of retool their business into something, in a more efficient manner and up level. So that's what growth does. It's all about making money and getting clients, quite frankly. It's the marketing pieces, it's those basic things, and a little bit of basic team and systems pieces in there, a little bit. In structure, we need to be at about 350,000 or so to be in structure, because that's when we can start building out the framework, the systems within the business, and the team to build the business, and the keeping the profit up. And the goal there is to be able to take 3 weeks off vacation and have nobody call you. And have the money flow and the jobs continue and everything installed, everything goes the way it's supposed to, and you get to step out. That's the goal there. All right. And so that's the focus. And probably we have more people in that program. That's probably our biggest group. I know it is our biggest group. The biggest group we serve is, they're up and rolling. They're doing well. We're cleaning up systems. We're making it more efficient. We're helping build the team out, so that works better. And then the masters, we need to be over $1 million to be into that group, because those are the big, they're really ambitious and really going after stuff. So that's kind of how we lay that out to see, get people into the right space. The thing that the thing that changes in those groups are the conversations on the Q&As. The conversation in growth is way different than the conversation in structure.
Right. And that's why I know you need to have a place where, if you're doing group coaching, that it either has to be so small that everybody can be addressed, or you have to be within similar revenue areas so that the questions are similar.
Exactly,
Yes.
exactly. And the people you're working with are similar. I
Hmm.
mean, and as we develop our pods, our little small groups within that, we pay attention to that and try to put people that are in similar places. For instance, people who have brick and mortar stores,
Right.
they need to be together because they have different issues going on, more issues actually, than somebody who doesn't do that,
Right.
right? So we always pay attention to that
Right. That
quite a
makes
bit.
it makes total sense. And
Uh-huh.
so we have a one-on-one onboarding with you. We have weekly Q&A. We have, is it a monthly meeting with our individual pod?
Hmm.
And then of course access, as you said, to all of the resources in the library and all of the things. And then that special little opportunity for access if a particular thing, I heard you. If they've
Hmm.
gotten you all the homework so that you can review it and come to the meeting and be productive, right? So in
Uh-huh.
15 minutes you
Exactly.
can rock their world as opposed to 2 hours of pulling the information out. I get
Yeah.
that, right?
Yeah, you know what that. Yeah, exactly. I'm the fairy dust on top. You can
Exactly,
sprinkle me
exactly.
on top and I'll make it work. Yeah.
And
And the
so,
other piece that
go
we
ahead.
haven't really talked about is the education part of this. We're really education based. So we do 4 2-day retreats in each program
Oh,
that's based on big learning modules, big marketing numbers, accounting. Yes, we do. We try to make it, it's understandable. Don't freak out. It's good.
right.
It's good. Sales, marketing pieces, all of those things that need to go in there. And in 2 days, we can do a big learning curve. So we do 4 of those a year. For each group on Zoom. In the structure group, you get more of me, and we do one retreat with them in person, which is really fun because we
Mm,
get to be together. We know each other so well from all the Zoom stuff, but it's really
right.
fun to come together as well.
And
So
go
and
ahead. Sorry.
then but there's even more. There's even
But
more.
wait, there's more.
There's more. I feel like a Ronco commercial or something. I do 2 3-day events, one of which is Real Deal, which is all about the exploratory agreement, the how you develop a construction or remodeling job so that you can be the head of it and run it and actually profit from the whole thing and create really large profits because you're involved in every aspect of it, right? So there's that piece in 3 days, and there's also Summit, which we just finished, which is all about getting a budget from a client. Is really the
Mm,
budget on the fly piece, being able to take a first appointment and by gracefully walking somebody through a budget scenario, come up with a real number that they said they'll do, not you, right? It's by talking about what things cost and not how much money they have, right? You've got to get the psychological thing has to shift. But we spent 3 days on that piece along with a lot of mindset to build that out. And people are highly successful because most of my growth students, by the time they hit mid-year, can walk into somebody's house and spit out a furniture job, pull out a budget out of a client, and totally get approval and call out a fee and walk out the door with a check
wow.
in the first appointment.
Yeah.
Right. None of this back and forth, and fainting on the floor and all of it. I mean, it really takes all of that stuff out. So we really are education focused as well as, here are these big pieces. Now let's go do it.
I love it. I love it. And that was episode number 548, where you taught us how to do the budget on the fly. And what I love is when you do a summit, now you can ask all your questions and say, yeah, but, and how do I this, and
Mhm.
probably role play and all the things. But you did at least run us through the concept of it. And I know that listening to that show where you walk us through it is an eye opener.
Good. Good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
It's a huge piece.
I
You
have
know.
referred so many of my own coaching clients to that episode. You cannot know.
Oh,
I
good.
think I'm responsible for probably 80% of the downloads of that show. I'm like, you got to go listen to this. Just go listen. I don't care if you tweak it. I don't care if you don't believe all of it, but you got to hear it. And then after you
Uh-huh.
hear it, we can debate it.
Uh-huh. Actually, you just need to go try it. It's
That's
like,
it. Like
yeah.
my thing is like I will take what I've learned from you and kind of describe it. And then I'm like, I'm sorry. You got to go hear Terri explain it. And once you hear her explain it, if you want to say, yeah, but to me, and the only people who can say, yeah, but to me, are the people I coach with, everybody else is like,
Mhm.
stop, go away. I'm not having this
Right.
conversation. But if you want to say, yeah, but to me, I will entertain it because I know that you've heard the information the right way in its entirety
Mhm.
first. But I believe Terry, and I think it's doable. So
Oh,
if you want to debate whether you're going to go do it, you first have to hear the right way to do it.
well, yeah, yeah,
Right.
exactly. And the same thing with the remodeling jobs. That's the same thing as a budget and the fly.
Mm,
It's just getting paid to do the research to figure out what it costs and have
right.
the conversation and have a job that actually has a budget that covers everything
Yeah.
instead of a judge that covers something silly that the contractor threw out. So,
Right. And that we
yeah.
talked about in episode number 662. I'll put the links for these, all five of Terry's previous shows on the show notes, but that was 662. Also very, very helpful.
No, thanks. Good.
Yeah. So now
Good.
the final piece I guess I'm trying to understand is what is the is it a 6 months? I mean, you're talking about you meet 4 times a year. So is everything with coaching? Is it a 1 year
It
commitment both ways for you
it
and the
is. It
designer?
is.
Mm-hmm.
It is. It's a
Yep.
1 year commitment. Yeah, it
Yeah.
is. And I will also say that I have many people in this program who've been here 3, 4, and 5 years
Love it.
because they just make more money when they've got some backup.
I love
It's
it.
just that simple. And the
Yeah.
same reason you have a coach and I have a coach,
Right.
right?
I'm not going to
That's
ever
it.
be without one. I can tell you
Yeah.
that right now.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
It makes an enormous difference. Yeah.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
it's
So
true. I mean, we have different things. Like when, I had one time someone say to me, "Well, how do you feel like you're qualified to coach if you still have a coach?" I'm like, "Because I don't get coached on the things that I coach on. I coach on the things I know from my experience and from my education and from my years in the business, but I get coached on the things that I still screw up on."
well, yeah, yeah, exactly. As we're building business, I mean, there's layer after layer after
Yeah,
layer of things you learn. You just go deeper and deeper and
that's
deeper. And
right.
yeah, yeah, it's
And it gets
fascinating.
a little bit like, for me, as I get the ahas from the coaches that have worked with me, Amber de la Garza, Eileen Hahn, when I get those ahas, then I want more of them. I'm like, well, what else could I do if I was able to take that big mindset gap out of the way? What else could I do if there's another mindset gap that's sitting right in my
Yeah,
way? Because
exactly.
as I think what it is, first of all, even if you're in business 1 year, if you have the courage to open a business, you're already a different animal,
It's
right?
true.
Right?
Hmm.
You're
Right.
already somebody, whether you feel like you have full on confidence in everything you do or not, there is a level of faith in yourself.
It's
But then,
true.
right? And you
Hmm.
agree, right? And then, but what happens is we have to be careful that same confidence that enables us to be in business, let alone survive and thrive for whether it's 5 years, 10 or 20 or 40. If we have to, like, I find like I'm very comfortable in it now, but it's like I don't know everything I don't know. Right? It's like I
Right.
know a lot and I'm really cool with the things I know and I feel really good about it, but always looking for what I don't know is why I'm always reaching out to coaching. And that's what I loved when you tell me that you have designers that stay in your program 3, 4, 5 years and more. That means that you're able to keep delivering the next level to them. And some programs aren't like that, and that's fine. Some
Hmm.
programs are, I do this for 1 year and I learned that because that coach or that program zeroes in on a specific level or a specific area of the business. But when you are running a program that people are staying in multiple years, that's telling me that there is a lot of that individual attention to what you need in your business, and that's pretty cool, Tara.
It is cool. Makes it really fun too.
Yeah. Yes.
From my side, yeah, it's really really fun to help build these businesses and
Mm.
have them just thrive and expand and
Yeah.
yeah, marvelous. Really,
Crazy,
really
crazy.
marvelous. Yeah.
So, how does someone listening on, what is the mechanism for them? Like they heard all of this and all the things, but 1 year is not, something that you just say, "Hey, I'll try it." How does somebody understand if it's a good fit for them? What is your mechanism for figuring that out?
Well, the first thing you should do is go to interiordesignbusinessacademy.com. Go to our website and look at what's there. Explains the programs, explains what's in them. Look at and listen to my podcast.
I was just
You'll
going to
hear
say, we got to tell them about your podcast too, right?
my podcast too. Yeah, absolutely. Because there's more of my philosophy there. There's also an enormous stack of videos that goes back. I've been writing, blogging and writing articles for over 10 years now. So the depth of what's there is pretty deep.
Mm.
There's tons of information. So, get into that, listen to it. If you feel the connection, then what you need to do is you just sign up for a clarity call. There's prompts all over the website. You just click on it and, put your name in. What we will ask you to do is fill out an assessment. That's going to tell us a little more about you, so that when we get to talk to you, that we're not wasting all our time figuring out who you are and your years in business and what you're doing.
Right.
But we've already got that, so that's really helpful. And we'll also send you some information to read before we have this discussion. But it's essentially a strategy session to talk about where you're at in your business and what you need, and do we have that for you? I mean, we'll be very honest with you. And we don't twist arms or, push you in any way. I don't believe in it. My belief is that there's clients for everyone. I
Mm-hmm.
don't believe that interior design or in the design community is particularly competitive, because there's a ton of clients. There's clients for everybody.
Right.
There's no shortage of them. There's also no shortage of clients for us in the coaching business. So
Mm-hmm.
there's no reason to push and squeeze and that sort of thing. If it's right, it's right, and if it's not, it's not. So we'd love to talk to you. It's fun. You're
Yeah.
going to learn a lot about your business, and you're going to learn about, you probably discover where your stuck points are,
Right.
because sometimes, it's really hard to see the forest for the trees.
Right.
It really is. It really is. And it's hard sometimes when you've been in business a while. You're going, I've done this for 30 years. I already know that. I know that. Well, you know what? When you do that, they already know that, you miss what's there.
Right.
There's something there for you. There's something new. If you get quiet and listen for it, there's an enormous amount of stuff. So it's a fun 20 minutes, half an hour, maybe an hour if you really get into it. And then, if you want to join us, we're happy to have you. We join all through the year. We don't have a starting point. It's kind of a revolving
Oh, that's
piece.
good.
And yeah, yeah. So it makes it easy to jump in. And, it's easy to get connected into the community, because you get in a pod. So you meet some people immediately, and the Q&As are every week. So you meet all of those people. So you get connected in really nicely.
That's
You know,
awesome. That's, it's so well thought out. That's what I'm noticing. And I'll also say, you and I have had, of the 5 podcast episodes that you've been on the show, we very much connect on our philosophy with sales, with that we
Mhm.
are salespeople. We are the best advocate for our own companies, and that we need to have sales skills. But where I know that we really connect, where I know we really connect is in that statement is that there is enough for everybody, and that the best sale is the win-win on both sides. And I know from our previous conversations that that's truly your philosophy, that if it's right for both people, then it's right, and if it's not, then there's no like turning on our salesmanship skills to convince you, because I think we're very similar in that we probably are both capable of doing that, but we both also know that if it's not a right fit for somebody, the result isn't going to be good for us or them. So
That's right.
I take you 100% at your word that if somebody has a discovery, a clarity call with you, that if you don't feel like they're a right fit, or that you're the answer for them, I know you're like me. You're just gonna be like, here, call this person or try this, because this isn't what what you need isn't what you're gonna find here, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And hopefully it would be the same thing that you would do with your clients, your
Right.
design clients. It's like, if
Right.
they're not a fit, don't try to make it a fit, because it'll be painful
Yes.
for
Yeah.
both of you. So yeah, yeah.
Yeah, no,
It's
we've
the
been
same
around the
piece.
bush enough times to
Hmm.
know that you don't get anything by convincing somebody of something. It just doesn't work.
That's right.
So it has to feel good. I always say with the chairman of the board, I only take 5 a year, but I turn away probably 10. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Because, not because not wonderful people, but what their needs are. I might say to them, go to Interior Design Business Academy, or go call Nancy Ganskover, or go call Michelle Williams, because what I find out in that call, I'm like, yeah, I'm not your girl. I
Hmm.
can't go down there in the weeds on that. That's not my skill set,
Yeah. Yeah, exactly what a designer should do with the client.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
100%.
100%.
100%.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think walking your talk is one of the important things that you can really do for
Yeah.
anybody, If that's your philosophy, then it's your philosophy with everything. I've often had designers ask me why I don't do one-off calls. I don't do 1-hour calls.
Mm.
And I haven't done them in years, because it's the same thing. If doing an hour with a client doesn't get you anywhere.
Right.
It doesn't solve
Right.
their problem. They think
Right.
it solved their problem, but next week it doesn't, and now they're mad at you. So,
Yes.
it's like, don't do that. And because I teach don't do that, then I don't do that,
Right.
right? It runs all the way through.
It's so true. I love it. I love it so much. And it's funny because I've referenced you. I think it was the podcast episode about the budget. So that was the 548 episode where you told us about your pass the salt. And you know what, Tara? I credit you every time I say it, but man alive, if I adopted that. Like, just say it and say pass the salt, right? And
Uh-huh.
so I highly encourage you guys to listen to that episode. So I know you have 3 Terry-isms. So we talked about the fly the plane while you build it. 548, they can go learn about pass the salt. But run your own race. I can imagine what that means, but I also imagine you have your own spin on it. So just give us your little philosophy on run your own race.
Yeah, thanks for asking that. Run your own race means stop comparing yourself to everybody
Mm,
else
right?
because you can't win. Everybody has their own thing that they're supposed to do, and that's there's some karma or destiny or that sort of thing tied in there, but it's who you are, and that's what you should be doing. And when you compare yourself to somebody else, you'll always find somebody who looks like they have better clients, or they're making more money, or they have a better husband, or smarter kids, or
Mm,
fancier shoes, right?
yeah.
There's always something you can find that'll make yourself feel bad. It's like you just if you catch that, you've just got to stay out of it. We do a lot of work in mindset, a lot of work in mindset.
Yeah.
In fact, all our coaches here in IDBA are all really good mindset coaches.
Mm,
We're all about shifting that and finding your courage and finding who you are and where you belong. If you need technical stuff, I got it for you. Go all over wazoo, all over the place.
right.
But that piece about getting your head in the right place before you go do something is really, really important.
Mm,
Figuring out what the win-win, figuring out what you want, saying what you want, being able to use your voice. It's
mm.
so incredibly important. And we get a little woo-woo. I'll say that we use a lot of law of attraction and that sort of stuff. Um, it works
It does work.
because
Yeah.
it works.
Yeah.
It
I'm all
is
about the woo
the
woo too. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
You have to put out what you want to attract. You have to, it is the whole life universe. It is a flow of energy back, out, in, over. And when you block energy or you put out crappy energy, like, of course, that's what's going to come back. You know what
Yeah,
I'm saying?
exactly. It's an energetic match. For
Yeah.
whatever you're putting back, you get an energetic batch
Yeah.
coming back.
Yeah.
And if you want those high-end clients, they're not mucking around in that. I'll
No.
tell you.
Right.
That's not where they are. They're highly successful, and they're very focused, and they're very positive, and you need to match energy with them.
Right. Right.
Right. So
Right.
every week, the other thing I think is so cool about that is as we work on that together as a group, is the rising tide lifts all boats.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody comes up.
Yep.
I have designers who come and show up on the Q&A on Tuesdays because of the energy. Because I don't have
Mm.
anything I need to know or ask, but I always feel better after I've been here. So
Oh,
great, be here. you know, it
that's
just
awesome.
yeah, just jump in and raise the energy. Come on up.
I love it. I love it. Well, it really sounds like it sounds like a wonderful program, a beautiful place to be, a tremendous community to be a part of. And,
Yeah.
to have someone like yourself with your decades of experience in running successful firms. And you see, that's another thing too. It's, managing 14 people, that's the real deal. We've got, I think, 16 of us at WindowWorks now, and it is, it is a real thing. You know what I'm saying? And
Changes stuff,
you have
doesn't it?
got to
Yeah.
have your business chops to do that. And so,
Exactly.
hats
Exactly.
off to you. I
Thank you.
just admire what you do, Terry, really so much.
Thank you. Thank you. And I admire how you've stretched out and connected to so many designers and brought all of us to the forefront so we can help everybody. It's really, really fabulous. We appreciate you and all that you
Oh,
do.
thank you. Look, this is a sponsored show. I tell you that right at the top. But the thing about it is I think you know me by now, that regardless of a sponsored show or not, if a guest is not going to bring us value, they're not coming back to the show 6 times. It's as simple as that. I mean, I think you can trust me on that. And after you listen to the 6th show of Terri's on here, it's clear, isn't it, that she knows her stuff? And what I love most is that she's sharing it with all of us. And that's what it's all about. Don't keep the tools, the information to yourself. Share them with the rest of us so that we can all run our businesses more successfully, more profitably. This is the premise of the podcast at its very core, right? Now, if you've also, in addition to listening to Terri here on the podcast, if you've taken one of Terri's courses before, I encourage you to head over to my Instagram and share in the comments your experience with it. And if you are interested in learning more about the IDBA and if it's right for you, please go over to interiordesignbusinessacademy.com to learn more about the programs there. I'll also have all of Terri's past episodes linked in the show notes, so check them out as well. All right? So thank you so much for joining me again today, and an extra special thank you to Terri and the IDBA for sponsoring the episode. Have a great day. Decide to be excellent. Thank you for joining me today. This podcast is a production of Luann Nigara, Inc. If you want to know more about me, my books, or Luann University, go to luannnigara.com. And if you are interested in having WindowWorks help you with your next window treatment or awning project in the New York, New Jersey metro area, go to windowworksnj.com to learn more. Have an excellent day.